Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thanksgiving Day. It is 5 o'clock. Santa has declared Christmas, so therefore it's time for one of Jeff's Christmas videos. Watch on, more to come.
On the 22nd of June, 1899, in Cook County, Illinois, a birth was registered. Haddon Hubbard Sundblom was born where this house sits now, at 161 Milton Avenue. He was born to a middle-income family who lived on an average street in an average town just outside of Chicago, Illinois. And yet, young Hubbard changed our perceptions of Christmas around the world. Before our Hubbard came along in 1931, Santa Claus was kind of all over the map how he was depicted. There was absolutely no consistency as to how he was depicted and what clothes he wore, and if he was a saint, if he was, an average Joe that walked around and gave away toys. He was depicted in many different ways. In England, way back when, he rode a goat, and there'll be more on that later. In some depictions, he was kind of an everyman that just was a kindly old man that traveled around and gave children toys. And in some depictions, he could be kind of scary. The Czechs and the Germanic people believed in Krampus, who traveled with St. Nicholas and punished bad children, while St. Nick provided them with toys. He carried birch switches with him to whip the children. In the early Germanic and Czech tales, he was the constant companion of Santa Claus, kind of an alter ego. In some depictions, he traveled by foot and went from village to village giving children toys, only those deserving, of course. And according to the Zeppelin Company, he traveled by airship. Saint or villain, and regardless of what his motivations were for traveling around and giving away toys, there was absolutely no consistency in any of it until 1931, when our Hubbard Sundblom was tasked by the Coca-Cola Company to come up with a new advertising campaign which they wanted to feature Santa Claus. He had already been responsible for some very successful advertising campaigns in the past, like Aunt Jemima Pancake Mix, which was very, very popular. And also, he was responsible for Quaker Oats. It was the original 1931 Coca-Cola advertising campaign that gave us the red-coated, white-bearded Santa Claus that we all know and love. And it was so loved by the public that his image was cemented in history. Now we had the Santa Claus that everyone knows and loves, but The transportation issue was never really quite taken care of up till this point. The story wasn't consistent. Was the Zeppelin company correct that he traveled by airship? No. That came from a man in Chicago. He is the one that gave us consistency in travel. Robert Louis May was born in 1905 in Queens County, New York, and he grew up to become an advertising executive for the Montgomery Ward Company. The Montgomery Ward Stores was a chain of department stores that operated with a catalog that you could order from, and they were huge. They were one of the biggest retailers there was, along with Sears. It was a tradition at Montgomery Ward that every year at Christmas time they would give away a booklet to people's children when they came in to shop. Some years it was a coloring book. Other years it was a little storybook, but it was free. And they would meet you at the door with a smile and welcome you to the store, and they would give each child one of these small books. In 1939, for the Christmas season, Robert Louis May wrote a small giveaway child's book called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and he told the story about how Rudolph had been picked on and how he became Santa's number one reindeer, and the book was given away for that year. If you've ever wondered where the story came about Santa Claus and his reindeer, it came from the Montgomery Ward's retail stores and was envisioned by Robert Louis May in 1939. And that is how we ended up with our very familiar Santa Claus and his reindeer.